Hi, today you'll learn how to make this real-time dynamic cloud texture and sun in Blender. This is good for animations as you can change it on the fly, and even if you don't, it gives some life to your sky with the moving clouds. This technique is really lightweight, we don't need a lot of geometry and we don't need volumetrics. You can change the gradient color of the sky, the color of the clouds, direction, speed, and size. You can also rotate the sun with an empty, change its size and color, all done real time in Eevee. I'm not going to hold your hand too much in this video, but you should be able to follow what I'm doing even if you're a beginner. This is not very hard. Let's head over to Blender. Remove all of this, we don't need it. Add a sphere, we're going to cut it a bit less than in half. Select the bottom vertex and press Ctrl+ on the numpad to increase the selection up until here and delete it. In object mode, click on object and shade it smooth. I use quick favorites for this. Scale the dome by something like 20 or more and scale it down in the Z-axis a bit. I don't know why, but it looks better like this. Apply its rotation and scale. In edit mode, select the whole sphere, press U, then UV unwrap it so we have a better UV. I'll create a plane to serve as my horizon and a Suzanne to show off the lighting. Go to the shading workspace, select the dome and give it a new material. Call it Clouds 1. Now it's a good time to change your render engine to Eevee. Don't forget to enable bloom, we're going to need it for the sun. Go to the material settings of Clouds 1 and change the blending mode to Alpha Blend. Duplicate the dome and scale it down, this will give us a bit more depth. We'll work on the second dome later on, for now hide it. Add a noise texture, mapping, and texture coordinate node. You can add those by pressing Ctrl T on the noise node. You need to have the node wrangler add-on enabled for this to work. You can also press Ctrl Shift and click on a node to visualize it. Plug the UV to the mapping node. This will be important for the cloud movement, and change this to 4D. Plug a color ramp or a map range on the noise and crush the black values to about 0.4 or 0.5. We'll be changing this later on. We duplicated the dome to make two types of clouds, a bigger cloud and a smaller one. The bigger dome, which we are working on right now, is the big cloud one, so adjust the noise and color ramp until it makes sense. These are the settings I used. Feel free to tinker here as much as you want. Add a transparent and an emission node. You can automatically create a mix shader by pressing Ctrl Shift and left click. Drag one to another and release the mouse. Keep the transparent node on top. This emission node controls the cloud color and overall visibility by adjusting the strength. I'll make it a very light blue because real clouds scatter light inside of it, so I'm faking that. Now let's make it move. We'll be animating these two properties, the location and this W value, which is basically a seed number. We're going to do that with a simple driver. Click on the X location and type #frame/200/50. The hashtag frame outputs the current frame number. The slash is used to divide it. We're taking 200 and dividing it by 50. You can divide it by 1000, but doing like this gives us a smaller number to work with. You can apply the same driver to the Y location if you want the clouds to move a bit to the side. I don't, so I'm not going to do that. Apply the same driver to the W value. You can play with these drivers to get the look you want. I believe 80 here would be good, but on video 50 is easier to see, so keep it like that. Unhide the other dome and click here to duplicate the material. We'll work on the smaller clouds now. You can see they look exactly the same. Just change the X rotation to something else. That way we don't need to mess with the drivers too much. To give it some more random movement, change the speed of the driver. Now adjust the noise and color ramp until we have smaller clouds. You can see the settings I used here. I'm reducing the strength of the emission because thinner clouds don't scatter as much light as the bigger ones. I like this whisper type of cloud. That's all done for the clouds. If you have an HDRI or will be using something else as a background, that's all you need. If you want the sky and sun, we'll get to it. But before that, know that you can download the blend file on the description below. While you're at it, feel free to toss a coin to a fellow 3D artist. Let's hide both of these domes, so we have a better view of the sky. Click here and change it from object to word. These are the word nodes. Make sure you're at the render mode by pressing Z and change into render view. Add a gradient node, mapping, and texture coordinate like we did before. Change the Y rotation to 19 so we have the gradient going from top to bottom. You can experiment with other types of gradients, but I like to keep mine at linear. Move X to 0.6. This will bring the whole gradient down a bit. Add a color ramp and change it to B-spline for a smoother look. The black slider basically decides how much of each color you want. Add a mix shader and plug the color ramp to the factor. This node will control the colors of the sky. The top color is the bottom color at the viewport. I find this a bit distracting, so we use an invert node here. You can do the same by clicking on this arrow and flip color ramp. I like to have separate nodes for that, but you can do whatever fits your style. I'll color my sky in a natural way, dark blue on top and lighter blue on the bottom, kinda like a morning sky. Remember to always use reference when doing anything. You're not less of an artist because of it. No artist should work without reference when possible. Add a hue saturation node. This is for more control on the overall look with a single node. For example, if you change saturation and value to 0.5, it looks like a rainy day for me. I'll keep these at 0.85 because 1 seems a little too harsh for me. Plug the output to the background node. You can see the node setup on your screen right now. We're done with the sky itself. Now let's make the sun. Add another gradient node, mapping and texture coordinate. The gradient is at the right side. I want it to be at the front, so change Z rotation to -19. That way, the sun's default position is in the front. You don't need to do this, but I like it like that. Change the gradient from linear to quadratic. Add a map range and a math node. Change it from add to divide and add 10 on the bottom socket. Plug this into this socket. This will control the size of our sun. If you change this value now, you'll see the sun gets smaller. However, if we go over 10, it just blows up like a supernova. To avoid that, enable clamp. Clamp limits the node to a 0 to 1 range instead of going over 1. Now, you can adjust the size of the sun to your likings. If you go over, the sun will just disappear. I'm using this divide node for 3 reasons. First, it's really annoying having to deal with small values on the map range node itself. Second, I can clamp in order to fix that supernova thing. And also because I like to keep separate nodes for controls. Create another background node. This will be our sun and strength. Mix between these and use our map range as the factor. Change the color of the sun to something like this and bump up the strength. Now, at the word center, create an empty. The type doesn't matter. On the texture coordinate node, change it from generated to object and select the empty. If we rotate the empty, the sun now moves with it. However, if we move the empty, the sun loses its properties. To avoid that, with your mouse on the viewport, press N on your keyboard to open this menu. Lock its location and scale. Just unhide the dome and we're done. Once again on screen you can see all the nodes set up. Remember that you can download the blend file on my Gumroad for free. See ya guys in the next one. Bye.